boils and ghouls. Turn out the lights and keep the popcorn coming, because it's time for another episode of Fright Fights Podcast. Fright Fights Podcast. Get ready for your gore gang. Tyler Cavan, Chris Lax, and Mike McKinney tackling horror news, reviews, and fight for their survival. Coming to you from the Fright Fights Fear Lodge. Get ready to sink your fangs into a battle that will make your blood run cold. This is Fright Fights. Fright Fights.
Welcome.
Holy shit, it's been 2 months since we recorded the podcast.
I know. Everybody's favorite holidays passed by now, so obviously we've all watched 31 movies easily each, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
So I challenged you guys to watch 31 movies in October, which I accomplished, and you all pretty much shit the bed with that. I know Mike didn't watch 31, so Tyler, I'm not sure about you. How many did you actually catch up to?
I think so the month of October, I got around to watching 24. But now in my defense, I did watch The Midnight Club, which was a TV series, and there was 8 episodes, 1 hour and 10 minutes each. So technically, it was cool. If you wanted to count those episodes as singular movies, it would be 29, 30 movies. So close enough. I'm pissed.
Nope. Something I actually wanted to do with you guys is, since we didn't get to do an actual episode during October because we were busy watching movies, and November was a busy month for us anyways. We had Thanksgiving. I had the flu and almost died. You had school stuff. A lot of stuff kind of parted ways with us being able to do any type of episode. But at the beginning of this one, I kind of wanted to just talk with you guys. What were some of your highlights that you guys had throughout the watching of October?
Oh, easy. I think that, my first good solid film that I could say I watched in October was Hellraiser, the remake. It wasn't really a remake. I can't say that. I don't know why I said remake, but honestly, at this point, sequel, remake, whatever you want to call it, they've rebooted the series. They've come out with 1 million sequels to the series. So this was a nice breath of fresh air to see that they were actually able to do something that was pretty good, believe it or not. So I really enjoyed that.
I watched that one as well, but I did have kind of a problem with it. Even though that it is better than 9 other Hellraiser films, it still wasn't that good to me. I found it to be really boring all the way until the last probably 20 minutes of the film, whenever the main Cenobite is making its way to the mansion or hotel or whatever you want to call that thing, and actually stalking the person to kill him. But everything leading up to that moment, it just felt unnecessary. It was really, really just out of place to me.
See, I really dug it. I actually really enjoyed it because the thing about it is the original. Okay, so the Frank Cotton story, which was the original Hellraiser with Clive Barker directing, that was solid. Hellraiser 2 solid. Hellraiser 3, it was all right. Solid. Anything after that has absolutely been trash, and I think the big reason is they focused on the engineer mostly, like Pinhead's character, and not necessarily characterization. But you have the Hellbound Heart, which is that novella Clive Barker based the story on. And you look at that and you can really see a lot of really in-depth characterizations in that novel. So if you look at that, it's really not necessarily just a horror movie about Pinhead. It's really about the characters with it. So I think it's really interesting to be able to see that they bring back the series as strong as it was with the characterization. Because the big thing is, I think that a lot of people were kind of looking just for the, violence, gore of, the engineer brings in. However, we get a lot of like backstory, a lot of like characterization with that. And that's why I think I enjoyed it mostly was because it really focused on that and built these characters before it decided to actually do anything with it. And there was some
I
like really fun moments. Like remember that moment where she was on that playground equipment, what was it, the carousel thing? And that was scary. That was actually really I thought that was good, that
Hmm.
part was.
I felt like they focused too much on her backstory of being a drug addict. It was much more like a story about her individually before anything even Cenobite related takes place. It's like those were just kind of like a side story compared to like what her main story was. And I think that's why I didn't like it. I wanted to see more of just a story involving the Cenobites, not just here's this person, here's her life. It's not that good. She sucks. She's a drug addict. She hates people. Oh wait, here's 20 minutes left, and now there's Cenobites chasing her. It wasn't for me.
How did you feel about the new Hellraiser look? Like the new Cenobite, Jamie Clayton playing the engineer.
I thought she looked fine. I didn't have a problem with the way she looked. I thought she did a really good job with it. Very creepy looking, into the same estate that what Doug Bradley had. Very intimidating character. Had no problem with her whatsoever. I think it was just the story itself that I had a problem with.
Yeah, that's what I really want to
Hmm.
highlight too, was like Jamie Clayton's performance as, the engineer was absolutely fantastic. And I think it's even kind of rare because Doug Bradley even gave his like blessing saying like, hey, everything that, Pinhead's supposed to be sexy, evil, truly like terrifying. And that was how I felt about it. So I think that they really did a pretty good job. Now, is it the original? No, I don't think it's gonna become very, very, very tough to be able to top the original. But in terms of what we have gotten, like Revelations and all the other ones, it's miles better. So I am very happy we did get that. Did you
Yeah,
see it,
we
Mike?
Mike didn't see it.
Man,
He didn't watch shit during October.
I'm not a huge. I'm just being honest. I'm not a huge fan of Hellraiser. I've seen some of the originals. I did not watch the newer one. I think I started it, but I didn't finish it. So I'd kind of be unfair my view on this just because I'm just not a huge fan of it. But I'll tell you what I did watch that I was a huge fan of. Halloween Ends.
Oh,
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. A lot of people dog it. Um,
This is where
I
we're
per-
going to come in and we're going to have an argument. Somebody's going to get pissed off because this movie divides friendships. It really does.
no man, I'm not going to take it. Like I heard so much. I mean, like so much shit talk about this, which I respect because a lot of people want a overpowering Michael Myers, but I truly enjoyed seeing a weaker version. The only problem I had with this movie was when the Corey character went into the tunnel, basically beat the shit out of Michael Myers, ripped his mask away, and just kind of like ran with it. That's the only major, I guess, the only major problem that I had with it. But in regards to it, I really liked the character of Corey, which a lot of people did not. I think it was more of a kind of a drama horror because it was kind of focused with the Corey and Allison. So like I liked how it built up in the beginning. I liked the opening scene very well with the kid that I mean, yeah, it's sad when a kid dies, but that little prick deserved it because he was annoying. So, um, other than that, like I personally like the story. I thought it was a
I,
different twist. I thought the what was it 4 years later after or 4 years after Kills, correct? If I'm not mistaken. Um,
yeah, it's about 3 years.
just a complete different movie than Halloween Kills because Halloween Kills, Myers is brutal. It's just focused on gore. I mean, kills. How many people can he add to his body count, basically? Um, so I liked the twist. I liked a weaker version because what is he? 65, 64, 65, 66, something in that time frame. Um, he just got the shit beat out of him by the whole town, you know. So he's a weaker version.
I just keep
Um,
seeing this like weird version coming out like in 10 years to be like old man, just call it Old Man Myers. And
Old
he's
Man
like
Myers,
angry
yeah.
because people's like still like, fertilizing his lawn, and he's like in competition with everybody around him, and he just starts killing off people who he don't like. I don't know. But just call it Old Man
And
Myers.
Old Man Myers. But it I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twist. I enjoyed the a lot of people said it was kind of a slower pace. It took a while for it to kick off. Me personally, I didn't mind the s- the slower paced Halloween. Um, and to be honest, like most of your Michael Myers, like the Halloween movies, Michael Myers is really not in a lot of the movie. He's broken up over different segments, and they were like, he was only in the film talking about Halloween Ends. I think somebody said like 13, 14 minutes. But I was kind of doing some research now. I do not know how accurate this is, but even in like the original Halloween 1 and 2, he was only in it for like 16 minutes in I think Halloween 1 and 14 minutes, maybe 13 minutes in Halloween 2. I mean, so for people to kind of be disappointed in that, I don't know if they were expecting to go like full blown Michael Myers through the whole movie, but I liked how they did it. I just like the twist on it.
I agree. I think a lot of people didn't like it because of Michael not being in there a lot. But I mean, you look back at Halloween 3, it's a movie that has nothing to do with Michael Myers whatsoever, and people praise the hell out of it nowadays. Um, I think the story works. I think it does really well. I mean, everybody's thinking, this is going to be the final conclusion between Jamie Lee Curtis or Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. And to be honest, it kind of works because she had two other movies, Halloween and Halloween Kills, to have her moments with Michael Myers and have her battle. So the fact that they have another character coming in and being able to take over that spot, I think it worked fine. And to be honest, if it wouldn't have had Michael Myers in it at all, if it would have just been him, like putting on the persona of Michael Myers and going after Allison, or even going after Laurie and Laurie Strode thinking that it's Michael Myers. Like I think that would have worked a lot better than having Michael stuck down in the tunnel down with Pennywise um, in the sewers. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really entertaining film. The slow pace of it works with the type of story they were going with, being like the drama, love triangle type deal. The bullies, you know, beating him up and throwing him over to die and stuff like that over that bridge. I think it all just comes together as a fun little like Halloween spinoff.
All right,
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
I partially agree with what you said, Chris. I partially disagree. My biggest issue. Okay, so looking at Halloween 3 was always meant to be something that was different. We all know the story of kind of like them wanting to make, a different type of Halloween movie every single year. People love the Michael Myers character, bring him back in number 4, and then the rest is kind of history. So whenever I look at like Halloween Ends, um, I can watch it two different ways. One part of me is saying it's freaking genius. I absolutely love it. One part of me is absurdly disappointed. And I think that the disappointment kind of comes that obviously this is meant to be the Laurie Strode Michael trilogy. It's the big return 40 years later. We've seen in 2018, we saw kind of the reintroduction to the character. Then we have Halloween Kills, which kind of like tease this big kind of like ending moment coming. And then we get this one, and it's like, well, let's wait until the last film, like the last moments in the last film between Laurie and Michael to start this completely different story. So I feel like either A, they needed to kill off the, Michael Laurie story in the last one to make way for this one and just went a completely another direction, which is what I loved about it, how it did go in a different direction, or they needed to wait until the next film. And this should have been the big ending for her character.
If you wanted a movie that has a battle between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, where they actually play out to where they face each other off and one of them dies, you already have it. It's called Halloween H2O.
But the thing is this is a completely
Different timeline.
So yeah, this is a completely different timeline. But in addition to this being a completely different timeline, we also have the issue that oh my gosh, I'm losing it. We also have the issue that this is the actual last film that Jamie Lee Curtis is doing. Like, that TikTok that was circulating where she was crying and everybody was like, giving her a hand and she was like, I love you guys. I've been doing this for, all my life. So this is the actual last film. Like this is it.
Yes,
So
and
I
if you
think
look
that
at the timeline, you're right. It's been 40 years. Michael Myers is old. He really is. Like he
I
is
know.
just a normal person. So the fact that he is worn down after the beating that he took in Halloween Kills, and he is trying to recover, his body is trying to get better, and he's stuck down in the sewers just waiting to get better. And we find out that actually killing somebody builds his strength because Corey leads someone down there to get killed by Michael Myers, and you see like
I
this,
was going.
he has trouble doing it, and then the
I was going
second
to say
he
this.
does it, he gets that strength back. You see him actually like pause for a
Yeah.
second, and you feel the strength come back to him. Now I will say it's really
Yes.
stupid whenever he takes Michael's mask from him. Like that's kind of dumb, but
I agree.
I think it was Corey filling that connection, wanting to be that character. But I do like, okay, so I will say that's my exact grievance with it is to know that this was the grand finale, new timeline, the actual final Jamie Lee Curtis story. We didn't get that. And if they wanted to end the story, they should have done
you
it
had
in
two
Halloween.
films leading up,
Exactly.
with
And
Michael
then
Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis.
but this
Why
is
do you
the
have to have another one with exactly the
because
same thing? Everybody wants something different.
this is the closure of the trilogy. The film is literally called Halloween Ends. Like
Yeah,
it's
it
like, this
ended.
is the end of the trilogy. Exactly. But the thing is why do we get an introduction to a brand new serial killer type movie character, which was great. Don't get me wrong. It was fun. It was great. I was having a good time. The thing about it is,
Because go ahead. Sorry, I'm so
no,
sorry.
no, you're good. But I'm just trying to say that it's just not a good way. If they could have done anything. Like they could have came back in 2018 with a brand new saying we're making a brand new Halloween trilogy and then introduce the character name, what's his name?
Corey.
Corey, yes. They could have introduced Corey back in 2018 and said, this is and just made Halloween Ends the first one and then have a brand new trilogy where Michael kind of takes a back seat and Corey takes over for him. Corey Cunningham, right? So that could have been it. But I'm saying that they didn't choose to do that. They chose to give us the trilogy that they chose to give us. And the way that it was presented was this was going to be Halloween Ends. This is the last one. This is a new timeline. This is what we were dealt. And at the end of the day, they didn't really do a very good job delivering, again, a very old 40-year-old slasher film from 1977, fast forwarding, 45 years later at this point. And the way we end it is a 10-minute, oh, let's just like stab him to the kitchen counter and then we'll all just go chanting through the city with Michael Myers' body and throw him in like a wood chopper.
Yeah. So yes,
I
I
will
did. All right.
agree.
Yes, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead, Lex.
I will agree that the ending, the way that they ended it with Michael Myers and being killed off and stuff, it wasn't a good ending. I actually had problems with the ending as well, which is another reason why I think Michael Myers should not have been in the movie at all. I think it should have been focused completely on Corey Cunningham's character. But you have 40 years worth of stuff that is coming to an end, right? So they tell you in the film that not only did Michael Myers attack Laurie, but it affected the entire town to the point to where it creates somebody else who wants to be a serial killer now just because of the whole entire buildup of the legend of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. That turns somebody else into a killer. And we get that part from it as well.
To kind of piggyback off of what Lax was saying, how on the Halloween Ends, I agreed with both of you on the ending. I hated how like Michael Myers was dead, and it was like a 3-minute phone call that got out to the whole city, and everybody's just like following, you know, the body of Myers to be, I mean, laid to rest, you know, chopped up, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was very cheesy. I felt they should have like a little bit more respect, just on the whole franchise on that end. So the ending was pretty bad, but exclude that ending, how the whole town followed. I thought it would have been really well made overall if something would have happened like Michael Myers was dead and Corey Cunningham like found the Myers' body in the mask, you know, and like the evil power consumed him, and he wore the mask and was like quote unquote the new shape, you know, not Michael Myers necessarily, the new shape, because that's what his title is. He's the shape. He's the boogeyman. So Corey Cunningham was consumed with the evilness and the shape, the image of Myers. People still thought it was Michael Myers, like he was still alive, but the whole time it was Corey Cunningham. I thought that would have been a great way of continuing the Halloween title, but with Corey carrying it on. I thought that would have been great.
Yeah, I didn't like the ending. I thought it was kind of dumb, like I said. I don't necessarily agree either with the switching of like Michael Myers giving Corey Cunningham his power or whatever the fuck he was doing down there. Like they like locked eyes in a very awkward moment, and I don't know if Michael was like what he was doing, but you see like a cloud go into like Corey's eyes, and you can't tell what's happening. Everybody's assuming that he's like getting the power from Michael or something like that. It's not clear. It was really awkward to watch on screen. That was just really stupid. I'm not going to say it wasn't, because it really was. I don't think anybody liked that part. But again, I go with the whole thing of this is why Michael should not have been in the movie. I think that the buildup should have been Halloween and Halloween Kills with the buildup of Michael versus Laurie. And then this one could have been where Michael is not there, but Corey Cunningham takes over as like the copycat killer, and nobody knows the difference between him and Michael Myers. And then at the end of it, he's killed by Laurie Strode. Even nobody in town, not even Laurie, knows the difference that it's Michael Myers or that it's Corey Cunningham and not Michael Myers, and only the audience is left to know that. I think that would have been a perfect conclusion, because you would have had it where Laurie's made peace with it and she's moved on, but Michael is still out there.
Listen, if they would have just cut down like 30 of the evil dies tonight lines and Halloween Kills, then maybe we would have been able to end that story the last time and then moved on to the Corey Cunningham story this time. I'm just saying.
That would have been I agree. I think it would have been a perfect ending with Myers in Kills.
Honestly, there was more of a build up to the ending in the last time. Even though it was annoying, it still like had like at least it built it up. You know what I mean?
I agree 100% with that. Yes.
Regardless whether you like the timeline of Michael and Laurie and then or Corey and Allison or anything, or didn't like it, overall I think it was a really fun film. I mean, you had Corey acting like Michael Myers. He literally like goes to the house and kills this family where Michael is there with him to like guide him or whatever, and he like does the whole Michael Myers setup thing, like, you know, raises up from laying down on the ground, and he does it in his own way to resemble Michael Myers. He puts on Michael Myers' mask, goes to that automobile junkyard shop or whatever that place was, and there's a really cool like 10-minute sequence where he kills like 5 or 6 people. Then you have like the hilarious, absolutely hilarious over the top kill with the radio DJ and the tom.
Love it.
That was freaking hilarious. It was just really fun of a film. I mean, yeah, there's some really stupid parts in it that don't make sense, but I mean, it doesn't have to make 100% sense all the time. It's a cheesy slasher movie whenever you look at it. I can't give it enough praise. I thought it was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, on the positive end, I know that I may have been giving it a lot of shit for the Michael Myers Laurie Strode story, but I will say, and me and Chris saw this together, so he knows how I felt about it so strongly at the end. When we were at the theater, he was like, "So what'd you think?" And I was so angry. But the funny thing is I came home and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And there was something there. And I think I figured out what the problem was. And this is just the honest opinion. I think the problem, it wasn't Michael Myers to me, it was Laurie Strode. If they just took Laurie Strode out of the equation and you see this kind of like serial killer connection between the Corey character and the Myers character and the way it was portrayed, 10 out of 10. Absolutely fantastic. And Laurie Strode, every time that she was on screen, I cared less and less about what happened to her. I really didn't care about the connection between Laurie and Michael, the 40-year history they've had or whatever. Who cares? I didn't really care at that point. But there was something very interesting about like the sewer Michael that we got. And actually what was really interesting was there was a scene, that scene where the homeless guy is like singing a weird, like almost like celestial kind of song. I learned that he was actually singing about some kind of a mythical creature. It was called like it was almost like the Leviathan, but not. And essentially it's about this like Irish folklore about somebody like this like evil creature that lives in like the sewer system. And it's like very, yeah, it's perfect if you think about it. So we have this homeless guy singing about this like crazy sewer monster, and then we get a closer look with Corey going into the sewer, and there's Michael. And that's just absolutely, to me, it was mind blowing. And they really, carefully crafted that so well. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. So looking at this not as a Halloween movie and forgetting about it being a trilogy and the big end of the trilogy, it was a solid just Michael Myers story. Like if they would have just waited, like I said, or just took Laurie out of the equation completely and made this just a Michael Myers movie with a completely new cast outside of that, it works. And I would probably easily give it like an 8 out of 10. As a Halloween story, it goes all the way down to like a 4 out of 10. So I personally, looking at it from both perspectives, if I average that out, I'd probably give like a 6 or 7.
I was going to say
that's a solid rating.
Yeah, myself, I gave it an 8. I really enjoyed it. There were some small flaws in it, like the ending and just some little bits and pieces throughout the movie. But I don't think anything on my level, it really, like it was not a good movie. Other than just like I said, the ending kind of sucked.
Well, Mike,
Little
if you
over the
get
top.
rid of the Laurie Strode character, how do
Oh
you
yeah,
would you feel better about it, or would you feel about the same?
dude. No, I wish Corey didn't die and it was a continuation of more movies with him. I
Same.
think that would have been amazing. I think like Corey, they could at least made a new timeline with him, like a new, or not even a new timeline, just a new series of Halloween, or don't even call it Halloween, call it The Shape. Just twist it up, call it The Shape. Something like that, and it's Corey portraying portraying Michael Myers.
Is the CW listening to this?
Please do. I think they should do it, but like, wouldn't this be awesome though? Well,
I mean,
Corey's dead now, but let's say he didn't die, and
oh, we
he's still alive.
know, Mike. Let me we all know
Oh yeah,
they could bring him back. I mean, honestly,
dude. Listen. Exactly, man. I'm just saying, if they wanted to make some money, me personally, I would be all for it and watch them. I'm voting for make at least one more movie. You know, but yeah, I would definitely watch it if he was still alive and like I said, call it The Shape. Title it something, The Shape, Halloween something. That'd be great.
Mhm.
The Shape of Halloween.
It's
There
actually a
you go.
sequel to Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, and Guillermo del Toro will direct it, and Michael Myers will be CGI'd. That's it. That's all you need. No, honestly, the bad thing about it is Blumhouse. If anybody listening who does not know this, Blumhouse has officially lost the rights to Halloween. It has went back to the creators. So we'll have to see as that gets licensed out again, who's going to pick it up.
Here's the thing:
I don't think it's the end.
over or under 3 years, or let's say 4 years, they'll either reboot it or continue. Over
It'll be
or under.
Within the next 5 years, it'll be a TV series called Haddonfield. Guarantee it.
I love that.
I don't know. Maybe I would have to see it. I'm not huge on TV series, but then again, I would at least give it an opportunity.
Nice. Well, I have a TV series I want to mention past Halloween. I don't know if you guys have checked out. It's called Wednesday. It's a little movie. No, it's a little TV series that probably no one's ever heard of before.
Yeah. Oh, dude, fantastic.
Super indie.
Show. Fantastic. Absolutely love it.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying it. I really am. Have you seen it yet, Chris? Or do you have any interest?
I've seen the first couple of episodes. I think Jenna Ortega does an amazing job as Wednesday. I think it's one of the best portrayals of that character that I've seen since like probably the '90s version with what's her name?
Christina Ricci.
Christina Ricci. Yes, thank you. I think her iteration of that character is probably the best one. They did a good job at casting an adult to play the character. I think that if they would have chose like an actual kid or teenager around her age, I don't think it would have worked as well. I think the fact that they casted her was the right choice.
Oh yeah, it's like a perfect portrayal of like teenage angst that you would expect Wednesday to have. I think it's a lot of fun. I really do. It's something that you would expect from Tim Burton, and I kind of like that because Tim Burton has that kind of like weird kind of aspect to his filmmaking that's almost convoluted. But the thing is I think that Wednesday really did a great job pulling off just the perfect amount of angst with like the perfect amount of like, kind of like the high school drama, kind of like it's like a modern day Addams Family. It feels like, you know what I mean? It's like today. And I like that about it. I like how it was taking place in today's times.
It felt a little like they were trying to do something in the world of like Adam's Family meets Harry Potter.
I could get that, yeah, because the school and kind of how it's
Yeah,
separated.
the school, like the kids have these certain powers, and I don't know, it felt very Harry Potterish to me. But it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I haven't finished it yet, but um, so far I really enjoy it. I use some good practical effects in it. The story's kind of dark, uh, and like I said, I really like Jenna Ortega's character of Wednesday. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
apparently,
forward to watching more.
didn't Jeanette Ortega like learn how to fence, learn how to like, I don't know, dance, everything for this? It's so she's really like captured the character very well. So yeah,
Yeah,
very good. I know there's gonna be a second season coming out too. So it's always a plus.
Thank God. Yes,
called
definitely.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Don't forget the big comeback Friday.
Oh yeah, on the 13th. Yeah, that's a killer day.
Nice. Well, what else have you guys watched?
Um, I checked out a movie called Deadstream on Shudder. Have you guys seen? I know Mike hasn't seen it. Like I said, he doesn't watch shit. Like,
Lex, next time I see you at work, I'm gonna break both your kneecaps.
Oh. Well,
No,
I did see it.
you're about as scary as Thomas Lacey.
No, until we go crazy.
Crazy like Lacey.
We're crazy like Lacey. Hey, speaking of lazy, piece of shits, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Have to get a shout
Yeah.
out, Thomas Lacey.
But yeah, Deadstream is exclusive to Shudder right now. It's about a guy who runs his own like YouTube online web series, and is not a very good person really. He does a lot of outlandish things just to get people to view his channel. And he said one thing that he's going to do to make a comeback, because he got kind of like culture canceled or whatever you want to call it, and he's wanting to rebuild his show, and he wanted to do like a checklist of everything he's always wanted to do. He's going to finally complete it so that way he can get viewers. And one thing he wanted to do was spend the night in an alleged haunted house. So he's going to film the entire thing as he's doing so and like live stream it. And it's really, really weird because the movie is basically Paranormal Activity meets The Evil Dead. You got this guy who is over the top, just silly acting, like scared to death of everything. but it fits. It works really well. He's very, very believable in the role. Every single time that he gets scared by something, it's funny. But there's also that whole aspect where it's, found footage. So it's got that atmosphere to it where you're looking at everything in the background trying to find something like, is that a ghost there? Did I hear something? What's going to happen next? Am I going to see something? So it's kind of creepy in that aspect. But then when something does happen, it is 100% over the top and just extremely well done. Just like Evil Dead 2 ish over the top. And it's so funny. It's so entertaining. It was one of like the most shocking films of October for me because I had no idea what I was getting into, and I ended up leaving the movie just loving it and wanting to watch more of it. I didn't want the movie to end.
I mean, I did watch it too. I just double checked online. I want to make sure I wasn't getting it right, but it's interesting because it was actually a one man show, like physically a one man show. Like in the movie, we obviously just see mostly him with a bunch of paranormal entities and things happening. But in honesty, he did the music, he did the editing, the writing, the directing, the starring. So it's pretty crazy, and that's something that's like really aspiring, as an aspiring filmmaker would want to do, be able to make a one man show if anything at all. So I think that's really interesting because it is kind of like Evil Dead 2 ish, and it does have that kind of like nice trait about it. So overall, yeah, I did enjoy it. I did find I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the main character was written very annoyingly to the point where I almost turned it off like 7 times just because he was so
Yeah,
annoying.
I think that's the point. I think you're supposed to realize how bad of a person he really is, and he's supposed to be over the top annoying because you want something bad to happen to him, and you keep getting it. Like something bad happens, and you're like, "All right, something bad happens." The movie's gonna know something worse happened. Oh my God, something worse happened, even worse, and it's like it's so
Yeah.
funny. Eh,
I'm still trying to figure out though if was his jokes unintentionally like not funny? Like, because the thing is like he
I,
kept
I
trying
think
to tell the
so.
jokes, and I was like, am I supposed to think it's funny because it's really like
Hmm.
annoying? But I was like,
Yeah,
maybe that's his character, and I
yeah.
couldn't decide if that's his character or not.
I 100% believe that it's his jokes in story is not supposed to be funny.
Because I mean, I did
Hmm.
enjoy the film, and I was like, okay, if it's intentional, I'm on board with it. If it's unintentional and it's just actually bad and not funny at all, and it's supposed to be, I don't get it. But I think as his character, if you look at it and you would do it, you agree with us and say, the character was written that way, it is a very fun, enjoyable film, and it's perfect for like October as well because it does have that nice like Evil Dead 2 quality. So overall, I would recommend for sure. It's also nice to see kind of like very practical, toned down, goofy kind of horror movies. So that's exactly what you're getting with this.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and the execution of like the shots and everything. I know you said it was a one man show, but I mean, he did a really good job. There's some really intense moments, even though it's over the top and silly. Like you don't know what's coming, you don't know what to expect from it. There's a whole sequence where this zombie cop or whatever you want to call it, demon cop attacks him in a car, and he's locked himself in. It's coming through one side. He's trying to get out the other side. It's a really intense moment, but it was also fun and silly at the same time. So it's like two aspects on completely different uh, ends of the scale, and you enjoy both sides of it. You enjoy the over the top funniness of it, but you also enjoy the intense creepiness that it offers as well.
And as like a web movie, like in like the movies that's based off of either like a computer screen or like a found footagey or shaky cam, however you want to call it. I call it like web films. It seems that those type of films are really, really hard to kind of get past how cheesy and the same they are. But this film being embracive of that, and that's why it works. Because honestly, it could have went wrong so many times, and several times, even as I was watching, I was like, "This is going very wrong." But at the end of the day, whenever like that, the last like 30 minutes kicks in, you just know like how fun and how like goofy, how it's kind of tense, like you said too. So it was very well executed for what it was, and it's one of those things you have to continue like sticking with and watching, because at the very beginning you don't think it's going to go that direction. You think it's going to be just absolutely horrible, poorly shot. It's like, oh great, here's another found footage web style film. Let's just get this over with. And then like 30 minutes in, you're like, wait, they're doing something that's a little bit different with the genre. And I respect it. I respect the hell out of it. So
Yeah,
I think I gave like a 7 out of 10, didn't I? I'm pretty sure. Let me
I gave it an 8 out of 10. Uh,
Gave it a
Deadstream and
0 out of 10.
Halloween.
Oh,
I'm trying to
I
see.
gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10. That and Halloween Kills, or Halloween Ends, excuse me, got the same rating for me. Both those got an 8, for completely different reasons. But Mike, I tried to get you to watch this movie multiple times, and you keep telling me
In
you're going to watch it.
yes, yes, you have, and I'm sorry, I have not watched that, but it is still on my list.
You better
It
be.
really is. It is still on my list. Promise. I'll watch it before the end of the year.
Well, y'all want to talk about Smile?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, you seen it? Has everybody seen it?
Y-
Chris is
yeah.
smiling.
Lax
Hey,
over there.
Lax has
God,
watched it. Oh, oh.
he could be in it.
The curse
I
has
have
come.
not seen the movie, actually.
Oh man, now we can't talk about it. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, spoiler for the thing. Okay, Chris, you're not missing out on anything here, because the spoiler of the film is they smile. I mean, like it's nothing that you miss out too much on. And personally, I don't know how you feel about it, Mike, but I personally thought it was garbage, I guess you would say. I
I
don't think
agree.
I've seen a film that was quite as unoriginal, banal, completely just a mess. It takes kind of traits from Blumhouse's Truth or Dare. If you've seen that
I
movie,
could see that. Yeah, I
which
could
was
see that.
already a terrible movie, a little hint of It Follows in the story as well. So, if you guys are living under a rock listening and you have not heard of Smile, basically, that's in the title. There's a curse. Their smile. It's gonna catch up with them, kind of like It Follows, and that's the story.
Yes.
You've seen the trailers, probably. We all know. So the thing is, how was it? Like, if you're gonna have a money gimmick like that and you're gonna have a mass marketing campaign, is the movie gonna be fun to watch? Is it gonna be somewhat original? Is there gonna be some kind of a twist? Maybe give us some good acting, some good characters. But I didn't fucking believe one character. I didn't like any of the story itself. It was completely unoriginal. It basically copycatted everything it did. There was no redeeming quality about it. And then they try to throw in this like garbage ending about mental health. And I was like,
It
okay,
was stupid.
yeah, right. And so I'm like, okay, so as a nation right now that's like really like proactive about mental health and trying to really like challenge that, they could have done so much with the story, and they absolutely did not execute it whatsoever. The ending was almost difficult to watch because it was so bad. The smile, I guess, is supposed to be menacing. It's like, oh my God, they're smiling at me. You know, it's terrifying. And it actually was like laugh out loud, stupid funny. And the moments like you are supposed to be feeling like the worst for these characters, and you're like, wow, they're really at their peak, like they're the worst of the worst moments in their life right now. I didn't feel anything at all.
No, I thought it was just very boring, just very bland. Like the the scariest part was the part where the quote unquote mental patient, not patient, or the girl in the beginning where she committed suicide right in front of her, like and right in front of the doctor. I thought that was a little bothering, but other than that, there was nothing else through the movie that really made me like jump, made me scared, like kind of scared. The smiles were almost just like kind of comical in a way. Like, is there something? It's like, is there something wrong with this person? Like, what's going on? Um, the story was just really basic. It was very it was a very basic story. I felt like the movie was way too long. Maybe because I just didn't like it overall. The the cat, where she killed the cat and put in the gift box to her nephew. I thought that was comical.
Yeah, it was
You know,
supposed to be like this
I,
very tense moment, but whenever she
yeah, I
like
just
busts through the glass
yeah,
table at the birthday,
like
I was screaming and laughing. I was not feeling any trauma, any kind of like
right,
sadness. I was like, is this
right,
supposed to be a comedy? Was it
right.
supposed to be a comedy?
I don't know, but like honestly, her whole family were a bunch of bitches, man. Like didn't like any of her family. Like her sister and brother-in-law were just the brother-in-law was a pansy, and the cat killing. Not that I'm against killing animals by all means. So you know, I'm not supporting that, but I thought it was comical on the reaction and how she just stepped back, and fell through a fucking glass coffee table. Like, what are you doing? Why are you like? It's just nothing made sense in the movie. And then all the end, the ending was horrible. There was other than the very beginning, the soundtrack, the music was just over the top loud. I thought it wasn't it just fell short. It was
Mhm.
a very if I could say anything, it was a very forgettable film. Very forgettable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of those quick cash grabs. I
Yeah,
think they would have done better if they would have just called it Jump Scare the movie. That would have been great.
yeah.
I thought that it was very unintentionally funny. I thought that it was very cheap. The last 10 minutes, here's the thing. The last 10 or 15 minutes, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're gonna, pull this off. I was finding some interest because I was doing something completely different.
Yeah,
And next thing you know, we get this horrible, like
just
CGI James Wan
like
wannabe ending.
monster or something. Yeah, stupid.
Yeah, so
It was
stupid.
stupid.
My
It
favorite
was like
review
a
said, smile. Hey, can I copy your homework? It follows.
nah.
Sure, just change it up a little so it's not obvious. That's literally smile. There you go. That's it.
I I personally don't recommend this to anyone. I gave this movie a 3, and that to me was a high rating.
I gave it a
I didn't
4.
like it.
Yeah.
Yep, there you go. Did
And I
not like
did.
it.
Yeah,
And the reason I gave it a 4 was because I did get some laughs. I did think that there was maybe 2 or 3 interesting scenes. Overall, I liked the fact that they did try to do a little something different with it, even though it didn't work. But besides that, it was just utterly garbage, 100%.
Couldn't agree more
yeah.
with you.
I have no interest in watching it, but I will say that the marketing behind it was pure genius. Having people show up at like Major League Baseball games, doing the smile concept or whatever you want to call it. It definitely got people's attention. Definitely made people want to see the movie. So the marketing behind it was really good. Although the idea of the smile concept, I have no interest. It doesn't do anything for me, so I probably won't watch, especially after your all's comparison to Truth or Dare and It Follows. I don't think I'll ever watch this movie.
You're not missing anything.
No, absolutely not. I have one more movie. Do you guys have anything else?
No.
No?
Not really.
Well, I would be doing injustice to the gore world if I didn't mention Terrifier 2 before I went to the actual show part. Um,
Were you
s-
one of the people that passed out in the theater?
so I will, yeah, if you search very deeply on the internet, you'll come across a news article that they did of me. I literally passed out in the theater. No.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely that's kind of a marketing technique within itself. And I think it's kind of interesting because what is it, like Damien Leone or Damien Leone or whatever his name is? He directed the very first Terrifier. And if you got have you guys watched that one?
Yeah, yeah.
The
Terrifier
yeah,
one is
yeah,
it's
The
good.
first one? Oh, yeah. Okay.
yep. Enjoyed it.
So to me, I didn't care for Terrifier, the original one. And the big thing is that they had a special feature, kind of like behind the scenes look at the end of Terrifier 2, and it talks to Damon Leone about kind of the connection of the character Art the Clown in relation to Terrifier, in relation to Terrifier 2. And essentially, he said that Terrifier was made mostly just to kind of introduce the character of Art the Clown, and Terrifier 2 took that concept and moved it into an actual narrative. So while we have like a stream of consciousness that Terrifier is, we get the full, 4-course meal when it comes down to Terrifier 2. And I think that's like a nice comparison. to be honest with you. Terrifier was mostly just paper thin plot. The thing is that it was beautifully acted by, what is it, David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown. So the character
Art the Clown.
itself was great. The story I thought was absolutely horrible. There was no characterization. I could go on and on about what I did not like about that story. Okay. That said, Terrifier 2. This time around, they tried to make a story, as Damien Leone said. And I'll be honest with you, I just don't think it worked. Art the Clown. Okay, keep in mind, before I go any further, this is a 2-hour and 20-minute movie. And if you're like kind of scratching your head, like, why is Terrifier 2 a story about a killer clown 2 hours and 20 minutes? Your guess is as good as mine, because literally I have no idea. When you watch it, there is a very extended scenes of unnecessary like gore, which I love me some gore. Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with that. But the problem is the story as it progresses, these characters that's in there that they introduce is basically like a family. And you got to get to know this brother and sister and this mom that's absolutely infuriating to deal with and insufferable and is always unhappy because their relationship, and then she's always on the kids, and the kids acting is not very good either. So you have this, and it kind of goes on for like an hour of the movie before anything really truly happens. But let me tell you, whenever Art the Clown's character comes in, it is absolutely fantastic. Every single scene, you're laughing, you're cringing. It's just so interesting. Like, okay, I don't want to spoil it, but I will spoil this one scene. And well, I won't spoil. I'll just say, okay, how about this? It has to do with mashed potatoes and Art the Clown.
Oh my God.
And it's absolutely hilarious. Like, it's laugh out loud funny, but it's so over the top. Like, there's this one scene, obviously in the world that we live in with mass shootings, it's a very difficult subject, but there is also this like really crazy scene where Art the Clown takes an actual like AR-15 and just starts gunning people down, which is absolutely, I think, super insensitive. But the thing is it's done in such a way that I can't like say it's like funny, but it has this kind of like certain like messed up kind of like gore but charming ability because it's Art the Clown doing it. So that said, it is shocking. Like, it is one of those movies where you're surprised they actually got distribution. I think that it was like at one point over 2,000 theaters. And 10 years ago, it would have been completely unheard of that an NC-17 movie was actually released. I know me and Chris used to work at a theater, and they refused to show NC-17 movies. So 10 years ago, they had this, the highest you could get was R. And somehow, some way, they were able to actually pull off an NC-17 wide release on this, which, I mean, I think it's kind of saying a lot about the times, how that's changing. But overall, it was one that seriously was like demented in all the right ways. If you like gore, you will like this. It's significantly better and much better made as well, like quality wise, than the first one. So if you did like the first one, I would say, even though this one's like an hour longer, it's still more than worth your time. And it's going to be one of those films that's hard to forget because I've seen it one time. It's been like almost 2 months ago now, and I still remember very vividly the entire thing. And I think it's because it has that kind of like cheap acting, almost like cringe mixed in with like this like fun kind of like there's something about it that really works because of that. And I think that if he continues to develop these into like a larger franchise, like we continue getting Terrifier movies every year, I think they're going to really do some cool, interesting things with Art the Clown's character. And I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's just, I want you guys to see it because I think you'll like it. And I think you will find some of it funny, but I think you guys will also get kind of like how there is quality issue still. And it's certainly like people were praising Terrifier 2, like saying, "Oh, it's so crazy, it's so gory, it's so much better than the first one." I hate clown movies, I hate long movies, but this was fantastic. It's not that good. Like it's not as good as people were saying it is, but it is good. So I think I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I think that's about where it belongs in terms of like the quality issues and everything. Still kind of goes up on the list a little higher for me. So that is Terrifier 2.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. Yet I have not seen the second one. Um, Something that was done with low budget. I would assuming it was a low budget film, money wise, cap space wise. But I really enjoyed it. The acting, of course, wasn't amazing, but I don't think that was the point for it to be hit on. Was the acting? It was over top gore. Art the Clown is absolutely brutal, absolutely disgusting. To me, he's one of the best quote unquote killer clowns. In the first one, the scariest part is when he sits down in the restaurant and just kind of like stares at the girls.
Oh yeah.
It's such a creepy vibe, such a creepy, like gives you kind of like goosebumps, and you're like, what the hell? And then him just like walking down the street and stuff, just like in that clown outfit, like and like the dry blood on his gloves and shit. It's just like the whole the visual look of him is just, to me, creepier than the clown. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the first one. I really want to see the second one.
I mean, yeah, I hate that they can't really develop like a solid story around them. The thing is like Art the Clown, yes, terrifying, yes, great, everything about it. But every time they try to do something that's bigger than that and try to make an actual narrative, try to build actual characters, try to have like a plot, it doesn't work. So I think that the biggest thing with Damien Leone is to make sure that, moving forward, that he does try to focus a little bit on building a world around art rather than just kind of like a stream of consciousness that Art the Clown is. So that's something I hope to see in the future. But obviously, Damien Leone is like a special effects director before anything else. So we'll probably continue getting like crazy, Art the Clown moments more so than plots. So you can't really blame it for that. But overall, yeah, I really, really want you guys to see it. I think you guys would like it. So cool.
We actually have a question here from a listener who wants to ask all three of us a question, and I told him that we would answer this on air. So Edwin Callahan, thank you for this question here. He says, do you all think Christmas horror films differ through the decades in terms of themes like commercialism, technology, or cultural perspectives?
Hey, yeah, we love Edwin. I think that's a great question. So to me, I can answer the way I see this perspective. To answer that, you can kind of look back at the beginning of the Christmas. So if we were talking about Christmas horror films, so if we look at the beginning of Christmas horror films, a lot of people were extremely against the idea of ever making a Christmas horror film. Just as I said with Christmas Evil, it was literally picketed. I know that like the British Film Institute took all of them down. Basically had nothing they wanted to do with Christmas horror. They were like, bring back Santa Claus the way it was. So culturally, everybody really had kind of like the same outlook, I guess I would say, on it. They really did not want this to happen. So I think that you can kind of see that built into the earlier kind of films. Like, let's think like what Black Christmas, Christmas Evil, maybe even Silent Night, Deadly Night. You can kind of see those themes. More modern films has embraced it. So like if we watch a film like Krampus, it really kind of it opens up with a slow-mo Black Friday scene. So just seeing that, like culturally, like obviously today's films are much more commercializing Christmas and commercializing Santas as being like, oh, it's a funny trait to have an evil Santa, or hey, it's cool to kind of like have Krampus. I think there's even like haunted walkthroughs throughout the country, like where you can, confront Krampus face to face and these like, horror themed Christmas things, like experiences, I guess I should say. So there definitely is a big shift because you could tell like horror films like 30 years ago based around Christmas was very, very testy in terms of what they would say, what they would do. And now it's much more embraced. So I think that overall we've kind of, as a culture, become desensitized. I don't know, to like an evil Santa and understanding the differences. That's kind of how I would see it. I don't know if that answers the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, I kind of agree with that a little bit, but I think that all modern films now is nothing but commercialism, especially horror films for Christmas. But if you go back in the days between, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Christmas Evil, stuff from the past 30 years ago and stuff, a lot of it was just, hey, we need to take all the stuff for Christmas and make it as brutal or as bad as we can. If we want to make Santa look bad, we want to make Santa look like the evil version instead. But they aimed all of that towards kids. So, you go to a video store and like kids would always pick out the most creepiest, coolest looking cover art. They aimed at that. The commercials would all feature Santa Claus. It would all feature things have to do with like Christmas gifts and exchanges mixed in with like something that they shouldn't see. And nowadays it's all geared toward commercialism and like the family aspect of it and the fun of it. There's not really, well, it is in the independent level, but like studio quality horror films for Christmas is all geared for pretty much like a whole entire family and adults and stuff. It's not really aimed towards kids. I think I answered it. I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to add anything, Mike?
No, I mean, I think you both like really hit the nail on the head there. Really do. Not much I can really add to that, to be honest.
And sorry, Edwin, I didn't answer your question. I would have better prepared for it. I didn't realize you asked the question.
So yeah, we want to Edwin, thank you so much for reaching
Yes,
out,
sir.
and definitely if you have any more questions, let us know. Send us some messages through the Facebook or any other type of form of social media. We will definitely answer them on the question or on the air, and I'll try to get everybody more involved next time. I kind of threw this on you guys last moment with the question thing, but um, yeah, thanks, Edwin. We really appreciate you, and we
Yes.
hope that you continue listening. So.
Yes,
And
sir.
quickly, a
Thank you,
shout
bud.
out to Conquest Books. Edwin actually runs Conquest Books, and it's local here to Ashland, Kentucky. So if you ever find yourself in the Ashland, Kentucky area, he's a huge horror fan. He writes horror. He's a friend of mine. I think it's something you would definitely want to check out, especially if you're listening to this podcast. So that's it.
Cool.
All right, fellas.
All right. Let us know what you guys think. Again, I guess ask us questions and we'll answer them on the air. So
Welcome back to the main battle of Fright Fights podcast. And this time around, we are in delight to show you guys some Christmas horror films. We all three chose three separate Christmas horror films to battle each other. Mike chose The Children, I chose Jack Frost, and Tyler chose Christmas Evil. So we are going to get into the battle here and see who is going to be the ultimate king when it comes to Christmas horror films. Mike, if you want to jump in and give us the details about the film that you chose.
I absolutely will not. So next, I'm just joking. All right. So I chose.
And Mike loses.
All right, that's
And
it.
Mike
All
loses.
right. Well, thank you
Hey,
for
great
sharing.
show, guys.
Thank
Great
you for
show.
sharing
We'll
your
see you next-
insights. We appreciate it.
No, I chose the title, The Children. The title itself does not sound like a Christmas movie, but it somewhat is. I think it was made in 2008. So basically, it's this relaxing Christmas vacation that turns into a terrifying fight for survival as the children begin to turn on their parents, which is kind of wild. Like that's what kind of drew me in when I was kind of reading this the brief description of this movie. But one of the most effective aspects of this movie is the way the tension builds up, because it is a very slow start, but from the moment you see the children, there is like an impending sense of doom. Like there's something that's not right about about the children, even from the beginning, which talking about the beginning was very annoying. How all these kids are screaming. The families are like super excited to be together for Christmas. Me personally, I love my family, but I'm not that excited to see them screaming and yelling for them personally. But the children themselves are like just over the top, very odd and strange. One thing I want to pick out on this whole movie, though, there was a scene in the beginning of the movie where these kids are sleigh riding, and one kid's already kind of affected. Like, you can already tell the little boy is sick. Something's wrong. And the sled goes down and hits, I guess, his dad or stepdad, or hits a parent. And he's like sitting down at this little table, and it kind of hits him. And the parent gets so pissed off, he runs up on top of the hill and just beats the living daylight out of him, like beats the shit out of him, throws him down the ground and spanking him. Like that myself, I was like, me having children, that was kind of a turn off on that point. But the movie never gave a full description on what made the children sick, which I was confused with, unless you all found out what did. I thought it was something to do with the cat, but if you all want to chime in on what you think, and then I can finish off. So I gave the introduction to it, how it started. But like I said, whoever wants to fill in.
Okay, so first of all, this is not a Christmas movie. Leave it to Mike to choose the most non-Christmas related horror film.
It's a Christmas movie. It's
not a Christmas movie.
It's a New Year's Eve movie or New Year's Day movie.
It's a Christmas movie. It has fucking Christmas lights and jingle bells.
It has snow. I will give it that too.
It has snow.
It's a winter film. It is not a Christmas movie. If you take away the decorations if you take away the decorations in the background, you would not even know that it takes place around Christmas time.
Okay, in all fairness, if you took away anything Christmas in the fucking Gremlins, which was one of the best Christmas movies ever, it's not Christmas.
It's okay. No, Chris probably would say that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie.
There is actual scenes with the Gremlins and Christmas trees and all the stuff, like shenanigans involving Christmas-related items. There is no Christmas-related items in this entire film whatsoever. There are background shots of decorations.
Let me ask you something, Chris. Have you ever seen fucking Santa Claus? No. So what is Christmas? Okay? What is Christmas? It is a Christmas movie. Christmas horror movie. Which was a terrible movie that I chose.
Mike, I'm gonna have to agree with Chris on this one. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well, no, here's the thing though. I wouldn't say. Here's what it is. I picked up that it was a holiday around like winter break. So in my opinion, I think it was like a New Year's thing. Like it was like a post-Christmas get together. So Christmas had just happened. However, I couldn't care. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Is this a Christmas movie? Is this not a Christmas movie? I honestly couldn't even give a shit, because at the end of the day, the children's annoying fucking like voices all the way through the.
Oh God, yeah.
It outweighed everything. So I could care less at the end of the day what the plot was, or if there was children in it. I don't care if the sledding accident happened. I didn't really care if it was, I don't know if it was July 15th. I was just so taken out by how annoying these kids were that I couldn't even focus on the film.
I just felt like it was a mixture between The Good Son and Children of the Corn. But,
well, first of all, I thought you picked the movie The Children from 1980 or 1974 or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, wait, that's not a Christmas movie. And then I think me and Chris both looked it up and we're like, whoa, okay, we get it now. But
I think there's a moment in the movie where they say, yeah, we're getting together with the family to have Christmas Christmas dinner or Christmas weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
So we don't know if it is leading up to Christmas or if Christmas already happened and they're just spending the remaining time together of it. So it's not really
I just
clear
take
on
it.
that spot.
I take it that it's a British thing. That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's something that we don't understand. Only Brits would, because it is a very
I read
British
this
film.
review. I read this review on this movie, and it's pinpoint. It says this movie was extremely annoying. If you are into loads of screaming, a poor plot, and plenty of examples of bad parenting, this is the movie for you. Like that is so true. Horrible movie. What
We can't.
what the hell made the kid sick? Was it something with the cat? Like what really
See,
made it?
you were talking about the cat, but I had no idea where'd the cat come from? I didn't see no cat in the film. Like I don't remember any
You never saw the
cat in the
cat in the
movie.
fucking tent, like the tent,
I remember seeing
and
that part, but I don't remember anything at the beginning of it with them like having any interaction with it.
there was
I just
another
remember it being
scene.
dead in there.
Mm-hmm.
There was another scene. I think it was over by like they were out sleigh riding, and maybe the little girl, the little boy, it was over by like some bushes, and the cat was over there sniffing something. I believe, and the little girl went to get it and then took it into the tent, and then that's where it just kind of everything changed.
I thought they
But
couldn't find the cat. I thought they were like Jinxie cat, and you heard
well,
it
yeah,
like
yeah,
"Roar," but you didn't
yeah,
see
but
it.
well, I think I'm not if I'm not mistaken.
It was like
I
a ghost
think
cat.
a ghost cat for sure, but the cat was taken into the tent. So the little girl, I think the little girl took the cat in, and was the cat sick then, which infected the little girl, which maybe the little girl killed the cat. But then again, it seemed like the little boy on top of the hill was the first one to be really affected by it because he was the one acting odd the whole beginning. And I was
Yeah,
like,
he acted strange from the get-go. And if you notice, it is some type of infection, like a virus of some sort that's causing it because it cuts to really quick clips of like the camera focusing on like the eyeball, and then it'll go to like a shot of like cells that are like mutating and forming together,
yeah,
like bloody cells, and then it goes right back to showing the kids like twitching or moving around. And so it's obviously something virus or infection related, but where it comes from, I have no idea because, like you said, that kid seemed to be the first one to go. And if you want to jump in toward the end of it, I don't think it's something related to the cat because they're trying to leave the area and there's like a group of like 30 kids that show up in the woods toward the end of the movie. And so you're led to believe like the whole entire town had this happen to them.
well, and here's my thing though: if it's like a viral, you know, like a spreading virus,
It
why
was
aren't the
COVID.
parents right? But why aren't the parents, the adults, affected?
Yeah, that's another question too. And it's like the one of the girls in the movie, she's a teenager, but I don't know if it's clear of like what age she is, if she's like 18 or if she's like
Yeah,
17, but she doesn't get affected by it, but she's still considered a kid. And
right.
it's like at what point, like what age does it stop affecting people? It's not clear.
No, no, very. It was not a well described film. I don't think there was any um major. It wasn't a very thought out movie, to be honest with you. Did it have potential? Like maybe, but then again, I was so annoyed with how over the top the children were in the beginning of the movie, which instantly was a turnoff. Like these kids were screaming like they just fucking went to Toys R Us or something. But it was awful. It was just a terrible movie. This like nobody knew how the kids began sick, and I'm still looking up like messages on IMDb what other people thought, and there's still everybody says confused on how the children became sick. No one has a
Yeah.
good idea on how they became sick.
But
Um,
we also can't look over the because you mentioned the potential, and me and you talked about this movie a little bit outside of the show, and it had some really good effects with it. There were
no, yeah,
all practical effects, really well done, and some actual intense moments because you put yourself in a parent's position, and you look at yourself, a kid, your own child starts to attack you, and how do you defend yourself? Like you don't want to kill your child, and they put these people in that situation. I think that's what the main point of the film was, is like, what would you do if you were put in the situation where you're up against someone you don't want to kill, but you absolutely have to save yourself? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And I think those did make for some intense moments. Like, there's a scene where they're inside this tent or like a greenhouse. I think it's a greenhouse or something like that. And the kid starts attacking this lady, and her leg gets broken, so she can't move anywhere, and she's about to die from her own child. So she pushes him out of the way, and he falls backwards on this big like glass plate of some sort, and it kills him. And it's like this really emotional, intense scene, and I thought that was really well played out. But it's kind of few and far between the scenes that are good and the scenes that are don't make any sense of what's going on.
I was just very. I guess what I'm trying to say is it could have been good. And what you said off this, I mean, how terrible is that? Could you possibly kill a child? And better yet, could you kill your own child if it was trying to kill you? I don't know the answer to that. Me probably not. If it was my own child, I mean, just being real. As a parent of two, probably let my child kill me. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know if I could kill my own child. So another person's child, yeah. I mean, that sounds awful, but if I'm trying to defend my family and my children myself, yeah. But on that way of the movie, yes, that scene was very, I guess, emotional, heartbreaking, and scary, all rolled into one. That was that section of the movie was done well, and it wasn't like it wasn't like it was bad special effects. I mean, it wasn't like anything like that was done on that part of the movie. The movie was done decently well. It's just very confusing on how these children became sick. The beginning of the movie was a little over the top of just being annoying. The kids, yes, the kids were creepy, yeah, but in all regards to that, I was just very confused on what caused it. I wanted to know more. I guess if they would have taken time on describe or showing how maybe the cat ate something and then got sick, and like it, what was the movie called back in the day? It was about monkeys, called Outbreak. Like
Yeah.
something like that. Maybe the cat bit the kid or something, and then they coughed or they sneezed on something like that. I could understand, but there was nothing described, or there was nothing showed in the movie that explained that. And that's my biggest hang up. If I don't know what's going on, I'm very taken back. But it was done. It had potential. I will say that. If I say anything good about the movie, it had potential or possibilities. I guess possibilities would be a better description. So for me, for the movie, I wanted to give it a higher rating just because it was my pick, but I have to be fair with like our game. I gave it a 3 because I just did not enjoy it. I didn't I wanted more out of it. It could have been an okay movie, like it could have been a 4 or a 5, but it fell short on describing what happened. So that's my rating on my movie.
Yeah. I wasn't as annoyed with the kids as you two were. I kind of looked past them a little bit. I did enjoy the practical effects. I enjoyed some of the intense moments between parent and child, trying to figure out whether or not they're going to kill the kid or the kid's going to kill them. I thought that was good. Very confused on the same as you guys. Very confused on how the virus or infection happened, where it came from, why did it only affect kids, why didn't it affect anybody else? Did it happen to the whole town? Did it only happen to them? Was it a worldwide thing? What's going on? And it's not a Christmas movie. I gave this movie a 4 out of 10. I thought that the potential of it was there. It was well made. There's some cool shots to it. It definitely had kind of that winter cold feeling to it. It just was missing a few things that could have made it a little bit better of a film.
See, yeah, that's what I kind of think of it too. this film was from 2008, and I think watching it, it has like a 2008 look, if that's the thing. It definitely was made, excuse me, it was definitely made by a group of filmmakers that was not amateur. It has some like really incredible like cinematography moments, and
Hmm.
the sledding accident scene was really good. And that's about it. That's all I, that's really the only positives I
Yeah.
can think about.
Yeah.
Um, I think that they were onto something, and I kept okay. Before I get my rating, I want to say all the way through the film, I kept questioning. I was like, "Are they trying to do something bigger with this that I'm not getting?" Because it felt like they were trying to almost like say something or tell something, and I kept like trying to reach, and I was really trying to think, like, what could this be like? Is this some kind of like an allusion to something, or are they trying to like tell a weird kind of like side story that we don't understand? And I honestly think that it was just misdirected. I think that it was very misguided as a film.
Yeah.
So overall, outside of the fact that it was made very professionally and it had, reasonably good practical effects, it did have a couple moments where you were kind of like, ooh, like cringing. Um, I think that it would deserve maybe like a 4 out of 10. So definitely something that I would never revisit again. It
Right.
did get a point off because it's not a Christmas movie. And overall, I think that, it would be definitely something that might be worth checking out. Every movie that we mentioned tonight, I will say is on Tubi. So if you are wanting to see something that's different, you've just seen everything. I mean, I hate saying it, but I kind of would recommend watching it one time just because it's so like out there strange that maybe you pick up something that we didn't because it was so bizarre almost in a weird way. And I don't think it was, but the thing is it wasn't in a good way. It was bizarre in a bad way. That's kind of where I felt. So
And I just want to put this out. I don't mean to interrupt, but on
no,
the
you're good.
children, if you go look it up on IMDb, it does say a relaxing Christmas vacation for you both. It was a Christmas movie. Boom, hammer down.
Yeah.
I'm just playing.
They are taking a vacation from Christmas.
There we go. Chevy Chase just
Yeah,
pops out of nowhere at the end of
yeah.
it.
So,
Hey,
Mike, you gave it a 3. Tyler, you gave it a 4, and I gave it a 4. That is 11.
11,
The score of
11.
11 right now.
Oh man,
Well, the
that's
shitter's full. Shit.
all right. Well, you guys want to hear my movie?
Let's do
Yeah.
it.
All right. All right. So for my pick is a movie that I've actually really admired for a long time. And I think it's just because it's so bizarre and interesting to me. It kind of has a nostalgic because back whenever I was getting into horror, it really kind of like as I was discovering Silent Night, Deadly Night, or discovering like Black Christmas, it kind of came across as a new movie, and Vinegar Syndrome had put it out. And I was like, man, what is this? So I remember buying it blindly and putting it on, and I was very like taken back by how strange it was. And that is the 1979 movie, I think it was, like 1979. You Better Watch Out. And otherwise now it is known as Christmas Evil.
I think it's
Um
1980.
1980? Yeah, it's right on the cusp of like, the 80s coming about with all the slasher kind of vibes because I don't know if I can necessarily call this a slasher, but it does go pretty close to slasher. Um, but it's Lewis Jackson. He has made, hardly no other films besides this. And it actually has a really interesting story about how it came to be. And I remember watching this and hearing about this. But essentially, they thought they were making like a true all tour type of film. Like when they went all out, and they wanted to make a movie called You Better Watch Out. He had actually written the script, Lewis Jackson did. He said, I want to make something that's absolutely like groundbreaking, a holiday film, Killer Santa kind of vibes. And he went out and he like hired this cinematographer from France who had just won like a bunch of awards for like some of his French films. And that's something excuse me, that's something that you kind of can tell and see in the film. It has this very like unique quality to it. And aside from that, it's basically about a story. It takes place like back 1940s, and there's like two kids, and it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, I should say. And they come across their dad dressed as Santa. And whenever they come across their dad, he's like, it's not, the thing is it's not really implied if it's his dad or not. Like, you don't know if it's actually Santa Claus. But I mean, it is implied that it's his dad. So the thing is that you kind of see that, and they are trying to prove that Santa's real. One of the kids is a believer, one of the kids is a non-believer, and they end up going to their room because Santa like looks at them in the eyes, and as a kid, you don't want to get caught by Santa. So when they get back to the room, one's a non-believer, one's a believer. Obviously, he wants to prove it, so he goes back. His name's Harry as a kid. Um, and he sees that like Santa's kind of getting frisky. Like Santa is like getting it on with his mom.
Fucking
And
his mom.
yeah, so it's just like, it's almost like kinder trauma at that point. And fast forwarding, adult Harry now is now suffering, I'm guessing, a nice fair bit of trauma. And he is working in a toy store, or working in a toy factory, I should say. And he essentially is low key like wanting to be Santa, is how I interpreted it. And it's not exactly clear what drives him to do this. I don't know if it's from seeing that in the past, has a weird connection with Christmas because of that at a young age. But essentially, he's watching all the neighborhood kids. He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's making sure everybody's staying good. He's trying to deliver toys to like a children's hospital and all of this. It does turn sour. He has his naughty list. There's a lot of like weird kind of implications as well. But I think that overall, it's like one of those films that you kind of watch for those weird quirks. And I know John Waters. You can't really mention Christmas Evil without mentioning John Waters. I really love him as a filmmaker and I respect him. And he actually, I think back before it even got a release on DVD or anything, John Waters had written about this at length about how much he loved Christmas Evil. And it kind of made it come out of obscurity because it was boycotted heavily upon release. Like, people were literally out there with a picket sign saying, "Do not watch this movie. We believe in Santa," kind of thing. Same with Silent Night Deadly Night. But this one was more the obscure one, and it kind of just went away and it never was released. Hardly no one watched it at that point. I think it was even like labeled as a video nasty. But fast forwarding, Trauma finally released it in 2000 on DVD. People kind of like picked up on it little by little. Now it has even more releases, like from Vinegar Syndrome and stuff. But at the time, what made it really interesting was no one liked it, to today where it has this weird kind of cult status. So the story of Christmas Evil kind of goes far past, just the movie itself. But overall, the movie, I think it's fun. I think it's great. I think that it does have a lot you can say about it. There's a lot to it. But I kind of want to hear your guys' opinion on what you thought about just like the story itself, because it is a story that you can kind of interpret, two or three different ways. And I think it's kind of fun to just even talk about that.
Man, I thought it was like a kind of a Santa themed Child's Play. In a way, with the toy factory, the kills, things like that. I enjoyed the film. I did. It was definitely a whole lot better than my film. Santa banging the chick in the beginning was, was score for Santa, literally. I mean, score for Santa. I think it was just kind of like off the wall slasher film that I would say it's not so like just your typical slasher, but around like Christmas, which it just fit well. I like the what was it? Who was the father? Was his name Harry?
The kid's name was Harry. Like the
Kid's name Harry. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for me overall, this is the first time I've even heard about it or seen it. So I just went in kind of like, not expecting much because a little bit of an older film. So it was entertaining to me. Old Saint Nick running around with an axe, and just doing work. So, I'm all about slasher films. I'm all about like, quick kills. throw a Santa outfit on. It's a win for me, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Nice.
Because I think if I would have seen it years ago, I would even liked it more probably. But then again, I don't know where I am older. I guess I did appreciate it, but yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'll throw some more things in here just listening to you guys talk about it. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I think it's funny because John Waters says it's like it was better than It's a Wonderful Life. They're like it's just true like Christmas fun. It's like better than
It
It's a
really,
Wonderful Life. And I think it's funny that he compared that to that. It's just I think it's goofy. But it is excuse me, it is fun, like more fun than It's a Wonderful Life. So if you want to really go into like a Christmas kind of like slashery horror movie and you want to have a good time, you just want to like, chill out, enjoy it. It's a perfect movie to do that too.
Yeah, I knew
yeah.
you were gonna choose this movie because you've had this weird obsession love for this movie for a really long time. And you know that I have not liked this movie for a really long time. Um, so I went into it wanting to think differently this time, giving it every chance I possibly could. And to be honest, I actually found myself enjoying the film this time around more than I ever have in the past. I've
Yes.
always I've always used this film as kind of like it's really boring. I don't understand the ending of it. Um, it's I can
Yeah,
throw it
what is
on
up with
during
that?
Christmas. Yeah, we'll get to that. Um, but I could always throw it on in the background during Christmas time, and it can be kind of like that cool atmosphere for Christmas horror films. But it was to me, it was always a boring film, and I never would really recommend it. But this time, I did enjoy it a little bit more. I'm not saying that I loved it or anything like that, but I thought that Harry being the killer Santa Claus, there wasn't really any indication of why he wanted to be Santa Claus because if he sees something that's going to traumatize him as a child, you would think he would steer clear of it, kind of in the vein of Silent Night, Deadly Night, where the guy didn't want to dress up as Santa Claus because of the stuff he saw as a kid. You would think this would be the same way, but for some reason, all the bad stuff he saw, it drove him to be more like Santa, which was didn't make sense to me. Um, but it was also really weird that he would grow up and want to be like checking on the children to make sure they're nice or they're mean, and he's keeping a list of them. And but he also seems like this really nice person at work where he got a promotion. He's doing really well, but everybody there is making fun of him, and it's what turns him into the killer to begin with. It's just it's very it can't decide like how it wants to treat the character. In my opinion, is he supposed to be somebody who's not liked, or is he supposed to be somebody who's good because he's keeping an eye and making sure like kids are getting what they need because he steals from the company and takes this to like a charity shop, like
Hmm.
all these things. But this time around, I enjoyed the parts with him being the killer. Whenever he actually dresses up and goes out, and the first time he hits that person with the axe and like runs off, I didn't even remember that for the first time I watched it. So it was all that felt kind of new to me, and I started like paying more close attention to it and enjoying it a little bit more. And then you have the scene where he goes to that church and just kills like 3 or 4 people, like hits him in the head and like chops him in the chest and everything. It was just unexpected to me, and it was random. Um, but yeah, Mike was talking about the ending. What's with the ending? Like that's one of the things too that ultimately made me not like the film initially, was because the ending never made any sense. Because what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the movie, it's played straight. He is a complete 100% human. He dresses up like Santa, and he even puts like the wig on and glues it to his face so he feels more like Santa. And then ultimately at the end of the film, he's trying to run away from everybody in town when they're like picketing toward him or whatever. And he gets in his van, he drives away, and he drives off a bridge, and then his van starts floating in the air, and then it picks up and goes across the moon and the sky like Santa's reindeer. Like what is that?
It's
I
that's
think I would appreciate it more if I was high, like at the end.
that's what I mean. It's
He
just
was
like
he
you
was pretty
can
high up in the
watch.
sky.
Hey, well,
Mm.
to me, okay, Christmas Evil can be watched like multiple different ways. Like you can connect it. It has so many different connections, and you can either choose to ignore certain ones, pick up certain ones. And I guess in the aspect of
What do
him,
you mean connections? Connections to what?
so for example, okay, so
E.T.
no,
floating in the air.
very close though. No, but okay, so
The children.
you can watch it. Yeah, it's actually the sequel to Christmas Evil is actually the children. Okay, so the way I see it, you can watch it as Harry was traumatized as a kid. He was a true believer of Santa. He wanted to believe he was real with everything in him. And then he was betrayed by his seeing his mom and dad getting it on in a Santa outfit. His mind was like, "Oh my God, is Santa not real?" Maybe he had thoughts about that after. Moving forward, he has now pledged himself to being like the best version of like a Robin Hood style Santa he could possibly be. So you can make that connection and say, well, maybe he wants to be like, keeping a watchful eye on the town, and he wants to work at this toy store and get like a promotion and donate toys and like deliver gifts to everybody, and be the best version of Santa he could be because of that. Or you could say maybe that traumatized him, so therefore, you better watch out because he will do things for you if like you like trust in Santa and you believe in Santa and you're absolutely good. But if you're naughty or if like you just cross his path, and he has like psychosis almost. Like I feel like he has this like psychotic kind of like inner side which caused him to like derangedly murder and start killing people. And that's because of that. I guess you can make the connection saying, hey, maybe it's past trauma because of that. Made that connection, or maybe he's just truly psychologically, not intact. So you can make those connections whichever way you want. So there's multiple ways to look at it. Then at the end, you're like, okay, so you could almost take it like a body horror, like maybe him gluing the stuff to his face and pretending to be Santa and killing people and maybe like trying to spread Christmas cheer. He believes he's Santa, he's transforming into Santa, and maybe either A, it's really happening and he is becoming Santa, like a true transformation, or maybe he actually drove off that cliff and died at the end, and you're seeing what he would want to have become. And it's almost like the vision of what if he was Santa? And he truly believed he was, so that's almost like a vision of what that could be. So keep in mind, none of those are necessarily the way you should watch it. None of those things are necessarily true. I'm just saying like you can make 7, 8, 9 different story connections of plot and really kind of watch it different ways every time. And
Well, yeah, but whenever he fully takes on the spirit of Santa or whatever you want to call it, and he's already killed multiple people, we're toward the end of the film. He goes to his brother's house and he's Harry again. He says, hey, I've found my tune. I've seen the tune that I've always meant to be singing. And it's even his brother is like, what are you talking about? What tune are you talking about? That's what I'm thinking as well. Like, what is he referencing? Because we're missing something. Because he's talking about finding his tune, but nobody's ever mentioned anything before about him being off. Like
mhm.
it's I don't know. It's almost like there's some scenes that were deleted that we didn't get a full story with. I don't know if that's the case, and I don't know any backstory behind this or not, but I found myself really confused. Is it the ending of it led to believe that he became Santa Claus? Like he did what he needed to do to become the actual presence of Santa?
I
Maybe.
That's what I mean. I'm thinking you could watch it that way for sure. And keep in
Yeah.
mind when this movie was made, it was made, pretty low budget. The guy wanted to make a masterpiece, and he hired the best of the best people to be able to do it with him. And I know they had multiple reshoots. The studio wasn't happy with it. They didn't think a Killer Santa movie. What they wanted to do was he wanted to make something much, much more than what the studio wanted to make. And the studio really just wanted that Killer Santa movie.
Usually, if I was to give a rating for Christmas Evil, I would give a rating of a 4 out of 10. Okay. Upon this viewing, with the more interesting kills that I'd witnessed this time. The looking at the story a little differently this time, being more involved, I guess, and just trying to figure out what the whole hell the ending means, um, and pretty much what the whole entire movie really means. I enjoyed it more this time around. I think that it does have a really good Christmas feel to it. It has a good Christmas atmosphere. Um, I bumped this up to a 6.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take that.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised with
Well,
the kills in it. I thought the kills were actually pretty gory for it to be 1980,
well,
especially a Christmas film from the 80s.
I heard that Mike thinks this is his new favorite Christmas horror film. It's absolutely genius. It's absolutely the best movie he's ever seen, right, Mike? Yeah.
For children.
Honestly, it's kind of spooky. You guys can't like see this like we're seeing it, but Mike is currently like I guess you'd say like a shadow man. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, I'm back. Yeah, sorry. Actually, I was actually taking a piss. See, I don't hear the noise. But anyways, go with it.
Are you on the shitter right now?
No, I'm standing up. I'm peeing.
No way. I feel
Yes, way.
I feel very intimate
And
with you right now.
if I keep hitting mute, and I keep like peeing, I'm gonna pee on the seat. So I'm gonna put you guys back on mute.
Don't put us down too far.
I like how he carried his phone into the bathroom with him. Like
Yeah.
he could have just got his Bluetooth on his phone would have worked for his headphones. Like he didn't have to literally take the phone camera into the bathroom for us to enjoy his pee with him. But thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I do feel very special. As we say that, Mike's like it's like that. It's like that. The pee sound. I can't. How do you make a pee sound?
Oh, I feel better.
I don't know,
Better
but
now.
I am keeping this in the podcast, and I'm going to add a pee sound to it.
Oh my god.
Well, the reason I took my friggin' phone with me was because my son woke up again, and yeah. So then I was like, oh well, I'm here by the bathroom. I'm just gonna take a piss.
Oh, it's moments like this I love.
Oh god.
All right,
All right, so
back to
Christmas Evil.
yeah.
Mike wants to talk
Mike,
about the children again.
The night the piss got away. Sorry, guys.
He pees you when you're sleeping.
No.
that sounds very bad. But yeah, I enjoyed the film, Tyler. I shot it when I first saw like the movie, the title and the poster for it. I was like, eh. And then I first watched it. I was like, it might not be good, but shockingly, 6 out of 10, man.
Hey.
6 out of 10.
All right. Well,
Good pick.
you all know what I'm going to say about it. I absolutely freaking adore this film. Better than Black Christmas, in my opinion. Better than Silent Night, Deadly Night. You just throw it up there, and I'm going to say I loved it. I mean, I absolutely think this film is super rewatchable, more rewatchable than any of the other Christmas horror films made. And with that being said, I mean, I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say it's a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
I really
Holy hell.
love this film. 9 out of 10 for sure.
Wow. I mean, it does have rewatchability to it because, like I said, even whenever I didn't really care for the movie, during Christmas time, I did use it in the background to play during, just as I was doing stuff around the house. And then ultimately end up watching it again for you guys and liked it even more this time. So it does have, there's something to it. There's something to it.
And that's why I love it so much, because I was kind of on the same boat as you guys were whenever as you guys were talking about like how you kind of just like have a lot of questions about it, or maybe you didn't really connect with it. The first time I watched it, I didn't really necessarily have a connection with it as much as I do now. And as I continue to like think about it, and I did some research on it, because it's such a weird concept of a story. At the end of the day, that's just kind of like become almost like part of my like Christmas tradition is watching Christmas Evil. And every time I just love it. I can almost quote it at this point. It's just like one of those weird films that I'm just absolutely in love with. So yeah, I'm glad you guys
So
dug it.
a 9. So that's what, six,
Yeah.
6, and 9. So that's what
21.
21. 21.
Heck
Oh
yeah.
wow.
All right, so we're at 12.
Mike, you better watch it out.
Yeah.
Tyler's ahead. And see what I did there.
I'm gonna win the will. Just playing.
All right, let's
All right, Chris.
let's move on to the best Killer Snowman movie ever made. Jack Frost, I believe it is around what, 1996. And no, it's not the one with Michael Keaton.
Yes, it is. Just
so,
playing.
so this one is about a serial killer that is being transported to his place of execution. And while in the moving vehicle, it's really snowing out a lot. So they're driving around the snow, and they actually have an accident and they collide with another vehicle that is carrying some type of chemical from like a research lab, where it's a chemical that bonds molecules with other things. And in particular, whenever they crash, that chemical hits Jack Frost, the serial killer, and it bonds his human molecules to the snow, which then results in him becoming a snowman and becoming a killer snowman. And I know it's a ludicrous idea, but it's an over the top idea as well. But it's so much fun. I absolutely love everything about this movie. From the beginning of the film, you have this opening dialogue sequence with or the credit sequence with this person telling a kid a bedtime story, and they're actually telling them the story of Jack Frost, the serial killer. And it's done like, you know exactly what you're getting into the second that he starts telling this story. And I mean, it's funny. It's really funny. Him just making these rhymes about Jack gouging people's eyes out with candlesticks, and using sticks and stones to break people's bones. And it's a really fun little story, and it's a very well done and really well executed intro into what is coming for the rest of the film. So if you like what you see there, you're definitely going to like the rest of the film. But the movie is very, very cheesy, very, very low budget. And we're talking, I mean, the snowman itself, the killer snowman, is probably like styrofoam, paper mache mixed with styrofoam.
That's what I was
Um,
thinking.
I'm not sure what they used for the effect, but it was a lot of fun to watch. Now, the serial killer, whenever Jack Frost kills somebody, um, it uses snow a lot. So there's a lot of snow effects. There's a lot of ice effects. There's a lot of Christmas related effects into it. As far as, Jack Frost killing people with Christmas ornaments, using Christmas trees, using snowballs and icicles. So it's a very atmospheric Christmas themed horror film. And it's definitely made as like a slasher-esque tone too, because the serial killer Jack Frost is doing these one-liners. So he kills somebody and he'll be like, doing this like, you gotta be kidding me. It's a lot of fun. It's silly. It's over the top, and I cannot get enough of this movie. There's a picture, if you Google Jack Frost like horror film, there's a picture of the killer snowman sitting in like a car, just like with its head turned smiling. And
Yeah.
it's enough just to make you laugh from that visual. And imagine the entire film being that way. So I highly recommend anybody to check this out. Um, I talked to Mike about this a little bit already too, because Mike is the same as me. He likes cheesy, he likes silly when it comes to horror films. So I really want to know, Tyler. I don't know if you'd ever seen this film, so I really wanted to choose this to see what you thought of Jack Frost.
Well, it ain't fucking Frosty.
That really sounded like him too. That was good.
Thank you.
That was good.
So,
Look, Mom, I'm a Picasso.
well, okay. I could get on board with cheesy, especially like direct to video kind of like 90s fun films. So watching it with that in mind, I love the hell out of it, honestly. Um, it is so bad it's good. It's nothing that you could take too serious, and to be honest, it doesn't take itself seriously. I have watched it once before. This is my second watch. Um, you can't even fault it for I can't sit here and give you an analysis of what I think about it because everything I would say would sound so fucking like stupid that it wouldn't even like make any sense. But it's meant to be. It's meant to be that
Yeah.
way. It's self-aware. Like you said, it is super low budget, and I love the scene. I don't know why I laugh every time. No one else laughs at the scene, but there's a scene where they have like a snowman making competition, and the entire
Yes.
town is like 75 degrees and sunny,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Yeah.
it only has snow in one little tiny area.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
they don't like make like any kind of movie magic or anything like where they're trying to like keep a very tight shot. They just show a whole ass like wide view of this, and they're making
Yes.
snowman in like 70-degree weather, you can tell. And I just crack up every time I see that. And the one-liners are great. I think it's absolutely bonkers where he's able to like, meld into a, like you said, basically using atoms and molecules and experiments to like turn into a snowman. The fact that his name is Jack Frost as a serial killer is absurd. It's ludicrous. It's just great. It's just it's goofy. Again, it's not something that I would necessarily say that you could even like watch and be like, oh, well, let's sit down and like, analyze this and talk about the characterization of this film. It's just, you're gonna put it on with like, it's pizza and hot cocoa night. You're gonna have a good time. You know what I mean? It's fun.
yeah. I was telling Mike, there's a few things I pointed this out to him. He didn't even notice this, but it's just certain little things that are really funny that make me love the movie so much. And if you remember in the scene where Shannon Elizabeth's character, her and her boyfriend sneak into the sheriff's house, and they're gonna get it on. She goes up and takes her shower, and Jack Frost sneaks in, but he freezes himself into the freezer or something like that. I don't know exactly how he does it, but the boyfriend goes over to the refrigerator or opens up the freezer, and it's nothing but just ice completely frozen into that freezer. So he grabs like an ice pick and he just starts like chipping away at this big chunk of ice. And then he grabs the ice that falls out of it and puts it in his wine. And whenever he drops the ice cubes in the wine, it is 100% like pure cut, like already cut ice chips. And just stuff like that is just really silly. That's really funny because there's no way him just randomly chopping at ice like that would make a perfectly cut ice cube.
I just want to know
Um,
why he was like ice picking his freezer to begin with, and how did the ice even like, you know what I mean? It's just like those are the questions you have when you watch this.
Yeah, and then there's the scene too where at the beginning of the film, when the old man dies, he's sitting outside on his
Yes.
rocking
Yes.
chair, and from where it's outside and it's wintertime, like the sheriff and everybody's looking at him like, what do we do? Do we have a serial killer on our hands? What do we go about doing this? Do we go ahead and bag him up? And the rocking chair is just rocking back and forth the entire time, and you don't think anything of it for like, and it's a long shot too. It goes on for probably like maybe like a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and all of a sudden the sheriff looks down and says like to the deputy, stop doing that with your foot. And he like lets go of it. He's like rocking the chair the entire time, and then the chair stops rocking. And it's just little silly things like that
Mhm.
happen. It's so funny to me. And I know I'm not describing these in the best way that makes them funny. Like everybody's listening is probably like, that doesn't sound funny. But watching it in context with the film, it's super silly and just super funny.
It's very over the top. And if
Oh,
you guys
it's
have you guys
wild.
watched Twin Peaks? Because I don't know what it is, but that entire town was giving me like hardcore, like Twin Peaksy kind of vibes. I thought that was like a really weird overlay. I mean, it felt very wintry, but I thought it was a very weird overlay to like such a goofy story. Was this very like clean cut Twin Peaksy kind of like wood town? I don't know. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, and
There was
there's
one part in the movie that you have to pay attention to, and I thought it was absolutely freaking hilarious. It was when the teenage Jake's his head is cut off by the sled runner. His father is arguing with the sheriff whether, like, Tommy, the sheriff's son, had anything to do with it, and the sheriff keeps backing. Tommy wouldn't have been fighting with Jake because Jake is at least 2 feet taller than Tommy. And at that moment, you can hear, if you pay attention, someone in the background chimes in, "Not anymore."
It's where it's like a silly voice too. It's like a teenager's voice. They're just like, it's very funny. I caught that as well.
That is
little things.
Oh my God.
Little things.
Mm-hmm.
That's hilarious. And then when the sheriff runs into the building, and the snowman is trying, he's chasing after him to kill him or do whatever, and he's starting to melt to go through the door, go through the cracks of the door, and the sheriff is ripping posters off the wall to fill up the cracks, like water can't, the posters will prevent
it's like
the water.
Construction
Like
paper.
construction paper, filling it like nothing can seep through past construction paper, and it's just like little things like that.
And it's working. It's actually working.
Yeah, it prevents it. Like nothing's going to. Oh, and then where the son makes his dad a dessert for lunch and puts fucking antifreeze in his dad's dessert.
Yes,
and he's like puts antifreeze. One that would kill
nobody.
him.
What did you put in those oats? Antifreeze. Thank God.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Yeah. I need you to go down to the station and gather antifreeze me back here in 5 minutes. Next thing you know, they're having an entire fucking family reunion in the middle of this antifreeze, swimming around like hugging and kissing each other.
Yes.
We did it, guys. I'm like, it's antifreeze. Get out of there.
Yeah, dude. Wild.
That kid is old enough to know that you cannot mix any type of chemical with food. So why? He's got to be what, 10, 11?
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Yeah, that's the only issue I have with this movie is that particular thing. Maybe he was supposed to be a lot younger or something initially in the script, but it was really stupid that he would make something that has actual chemicals from a vehicle into gingerbread cookies or whatever he was making.
It was like oats and something.
Oats or something, yeah. And the fact that they did the foreshadowing where the sheriff goes to throw the oats in the garbage can, and then he looks up at the sky and you hear the voiceover saying, "Dad, I made that just for you." And then he rethinks it and he grabs them out and puts them back in his car just so that way at the end of the movie where he can grab them and try to kill the snowman with it. It's so silly.
My only issue I can think of, if we're gonna bring up any kind of issue that we would have, is the whole kind of cat and mouse at the very end of it with Jack Frost and them trying to run away from him. It kind of seemed like it did go on a little too long for me. I was like, man, how many times did it come back? How many times is he going to shrink down to liquid and then return back into snowman form? So I did have a problem with kind of how long that went on for. But the problem is it was very redeeming, and it redeemed itself with the whole antifreeze scene. So I can't even be mad at that because the antifreeze really paid off at the end. So that was a little gripe I'd have, but overall, it still paid off.
Yeah, I loved it. It was absolutely horribly great.
Yeah, so even though that it's low budget, the effects are actually they use everything they can to their limitations. They push the boundaries with their effects, and it makes it even better of a film because how limited they were with it, but yet they pulled this off. They pulled off being able to use styrofoam as a snowman, or I don't even know. I don't know what they used, but it's fun. You look at the snowman and he's a believable character of a killer snowman. You really believe that snowman is alive to kill people, and I can't get enough of this movie. I watch it multiple times every single Christmas. It is the ultimate Christmas horror film, in my opinion. I love this movie, and similar to you and Christmas Evil, I give this movie a 9 out of 10.
Oh wow.
It was really good. 9 out of 10's a stretch, but I give it a solid 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed the cheesy slasher. I would definitely watch it over and over again, just for the simple fact of the one-liners and such the dumb, stupid scenes. It's more of a comedy horror to me, mixed with I mean, Christmas being
Oh no,
involved. So
it's straight comedy. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not,
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it.
You know, I will say it's one of those movies. Here's my memory of Jack Frost growing up was essentially I watched the Michael Keaton film, and I was like, I was a kid, like I was like young, like I was a couple years old when these came out, and I remember we had a video rental subscription to the one over here locally, and I remember walking down through like the aisles, and obviously they end up going alphabetical, and this was probably like 2000, maybe 2001, and I remember it was a couple years after it had came out, and they had just put it in the alphabetical aisle, and on one side they had Michael Keaton's Jack Frost, and then you would like turn the corner and go to the horror section, and then you would see like Jack Frost, like the one we're talking about right now. And I was so confused, and I had thought they had made like a sequel or something where like Michael Keaton came back and turned evil. And I remember I was like, I really want to see this, Mom. You know, I really want to see this, Dad. Can I rent it? And they were like, No, you can't rent this. And I had no idea that it was like part of two completely separate like storylines or universes. And that was like part of like my growing up. And then I learned probably, yeah, it was probably like 3 or 4 years later. I was probably like in my teens whenever I finally learned that they were two separate films, and I had seen it for the first time. It's been like probably like 6 years since I watched it. So I remember watching it, and I was almost about to turn it off because the very opening scene was like, "Grandpa, read me a story," and I was like, "Oh, I cannot do this." But you know, it's something that really does pay off, and I do think it's a lot of fun. So I really do like it. I'm stalling because I don't know what score I want to give it, because I have like two scores in mind. I'm gonna say, with how much I laughed, I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10.
Six, seven,
Nice.
nine.
I was curious at what you would think, because this type of film usually you don't like. Whenever something is very cheesy and very over the top, you usually hate it. And I was looking forward to seeing what you thought about it. This is usually Mike and mine's type of films. So the fact that you actually liked it and enjoyed it, I feel like I won. Like that's
Hey, yeah. I mean, I think it's great. I really do. I think it's a lot of fun. And there's like a type of like cheesy movie that's unself-aware that to me it doesn't necessarily work. But this type of film, whenever you talk about like cheesy, over the top, so bad it's good films, and it's done in the way this film is, Jack Frost, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's well put together, very self-aware, and that's what I look for in film. So I couldn't ask for anything else. So it's really good. A lot of fun.
so I think that puts me at 22, right? So 22.
Yeah.
5 out of 10. We're changing it.
So
So what is it?
So
20?
so far I am the winner. We have to spin the wheel to determine
Spin the wheel.
who can lose.
God, I hope
All
I get a
right.
20-pointer.
You're gonna need it.
Mike only
know.
goes to 10.
Oh, fuck, I'm done.
You should put on the wheel. Um,
There we go.
you should put on the wheel, remove one of the numbers and just put the children automatically loses.
All right. Let me see if I can share this.
All right. So I see it.
Well, here we go. So this is going to be for Mike. So Mike, you were
So-
at 12. Here we go.
Mike, you're at 12. We're spinning the wheel for the children.
I'm on 10.
What?
Oh,
Oh, no
my
way.
God.
I'll tell
You
I'm
got
tied.
to.
Dude,
What?
I hope you guys both get -10.
You know, fuck
literally,
you, Mike.
if the children
You and
watch
your
this,
non-Christmas related horror film.
Oh my God. Suck on the children, boys. That sounds so bad.
What? What?
That sounds so bad.
I didn't know we were that kind of podcast, Mike.
I don't know if I can.
Oh,
I don't know if I can put that in there.
dude, we'll definitely have to edit that out.
Here we go.
All right,
Christmas
Tyler,
Eve.
we're gonna
Oh, please.
Christmas
Lex,
Evil.
I hope you just get -1.
Yes.
So Tyler has 21 right now. So
Hey!
okay,
Oh,
got 7.
come on,
That's
second place.
So
Come
that
on,
is
second place.
28. That is 28.
Lex,
Alright.
you're going.
So 28. How many did Mike have?
I got now 22.
22.
22.
So he's automatically going to be in second place. I'm in first place. This is for it all, Chris. It's between me and you.
I'll get a
Oh,
fucking
come on.
negative.
I just want -1.
Honestly,
I want
though,
-1.
I kind of do hope this wins. Let's see.
The best movie of the night. The
Hey!
-1, baby. -1, baby.
I don't
Guys,
even.
I just want
I
to
don't-
thank you for the competition. I want to first and foremost dedicate this to the children.
I got
God.
a -6.
Oh my God!
I
You
hate the
finished
will.
last.
I hate the will.
The will has spoken, Chris. And Jack Frost did not live up to expectations. I'm very sorry.
Oh my God, that is
No,
funny.
no. Fuck the will. We're okay. Whoever's listening to this podcast, you're gonna go on our page. You're gonna tell us which movie you think is the winner, because obviously the children sucks anyway. So it's between me and Tyler, and
Nope.
which is
Nope,
better?
Technically,
Christmas
the
Evil.
children was second place.
Technically, the children sucks. So Christmas Evil or Jack Frost, or if you like the children, which we know you won't, what's going to be the winner? The
I'll be
true
honest.
winner comes from the fans.
People's gonna be like, "What the hell is the children?" We've heard of Christmas Evil. We've heard of, what the fuck is the children? So yeah, there are two completely different films too. So I think this is really really cool to see Christmas Evil versus Jack Frost, completely different. So that's good. That's
And-
awesome.
Mhm. All right.
So
well,
that's the winner. Christmas Evil wins. Whatever. Fuck, I don't care anymore.
no, I'll go ahead and finish it, Lax. The children second, and Jack Frost last. I mean, that's how it goes.
But guys, let us know what ones you like out of the 3 that we watched. Christmas Evil, Jack Frost, the children. If you haven't seen any of those, I definitely recommend watching Christmas Evil and Jack Frost. You know what? I'll even say this: don't watch the children.
Mike is about ready to leave this meeting.
Yeah, guys, I'm fuck you, Chris. No, in all fairness, I think everybody should definitely watch at least Jack Frost, but honestly, both your all's movies were absolutely great. So the children obviously was not very entertaining, and I think it's basically just a waste of what was it, hour 45 minutes, 2 hours or something. But yeah, definitely give the other movies a chance, and let us know what you guys think. Listen.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good fright fight.